What if you lived under an uncertain identity, with no clear memories of your real family? Everything blurry and fragmented, until one day she received a plain brown envelope with no return address, no postmark, lying silently on the dining table of her small apartment in Brooklyn. Maya didn't know how long she had been staring at it. Her hands still reeked of bleach from the cafe where she worked her evening shift. Outside, the drizzle blurred the skyline, and autumn wrapped New York in its damp, cold breath. But inside her, there was only one feeling: unease. The paper inside the envelope was brief, handwritten in black ink. Your father betrayed no one. If you want the truth, go to house number 12, Wycliffe Street, 10 a.m. Saturday. Don't bring anyone. Don't trust anyone. No signature. Maya read it over a dozen times. She had no father, or so her aunt had always said. The woman who raised her repeated the same story for years. Her father was a fraud, a corrupt businessman who abandoned his family after running a billion-dollar company into the ground. But what if he hadn't? That question cut like a sharp blade through the fog of memory. Flashes of childhood returned, screams behind closed doors, her mother's haunted eyes, her aunt's constant curses calling him a disgrace. Maya gripped the paper tightly. She wasn't rich or powerful, just a 26-year-old scraping by on 3 jobs. But she hated being manipulated. And if someone had taken the time to track her down and leave this message, maybe, just maybe, the truth wasn't what she'd been told for the past 20 years. Saturday morning, Wycliffe Street, number 12, was an old red brick mansion. Weathered, but still stately. Maya came alone, as instructed. The door was unlocked. Inside, dust covered everything. A single envelope sat on the table. This time, it held documents: birth certificate, father's name, David Arkwright, a voided will, and a copy of sealed legal files. Arkwright Global declared bankrupt in 2005. There was also a map with several red ink marks and a handwritten note. They didn't go bankrupt, they stole it, and they killed him. The past comes. Knocking it was 2005. Maya was 6. She remembered that night, her mother hastily packing bags, her aunt arriving in tears to take her away. She never saw her father again. Her mother died a year later, and the story of a traitor father became gospel. But what if it was all fabricated? She combed through the documents: names of shareholders, executive officers, legal reps, and the district attorney involved in the case. All of them still alive. All of them wealthy. All of them miraculously unharmed after Arkwright Global collapsed. One name appeared 3 times across the papers: Charles Levinson, former vice president, now CEO of a Fortune 500 tech empire. Maya knew what she had to do. She folded the files, packed them into her bag. The game had begun. Maya hadn't slept in 3 nights after leaving the house on Wycliffe Street. She made 3 copies of the files: one on an external hard drive, one encrypted USB, and one printed version hidden in a shoebox between 2 thick books on her shelf. No one else would touch the truth, only her. First target: Charles Levinson. Google told her everything the press wanted people to believe. Charles, a visionary, self-made man who rose from the ashes after the collapse of Arkwright Global to build his current tech empire. Maya stared at his face, confident smile, cold eyes. She saw no inspiration there. In the files, Charles's signature appeared on a document transferring shares from David Arkwright to him, dated 1 day before the bankruptcy announcement. A quick note at the bottom: temporary internal authorization, share shift from David to Levinson for emergency handling. Emergency, my ass. You don't murder your chairman and call it emergency handling. First move, posing as an intern. Charles was cautious, but his company, LNX Corp., regularly hired legal interns to handle contract digitization. Maya submitted a fake resume, complete with a law degree from a small Indiana university and a recommendation letter written by a tech industry contact. 3 days later, she received an interview invitation. She wore a plain blazer, tied her hair neatly, added fake glasses, and softened her voice with a slight southern twang. Just enough to come off meek and forgettable. The interview lasted 15 minutes. The HR manager barely blinked before saying, "You can start Monday." Into the lion's den. Maya's cubicle was on the 8th floor, legal department. She was assigned to archive and cross-check older corporate documents, exactly what she needed. She started combing through files from 2004-2005, scanned paper contracts and internal records. One contract stood out. Temporary acquisition, internal agreement between Arkwright Global and LNX Inc. Never reported, not on public record. LNX had once been a minor subsidiary, funded by Arkwright. A few months before the collapse, LNX bought back its shares through a series of shell corporations based in the Cayman Islands. Maya froze. This wasn't a collapse. It was a planned heist. The others, from the old shareholder list, 3 names were still alive and relevant. Vincent Lawton, former legal counsel; Monica Reeds, CFO, now retired; Eli Wade, co-founder who vanished after selling his shares in 2006. They were potential witnesses. And if Maya wanted to take down the entire LNX empire, she had to know who betrayed her father, who was bought, and who still carried secrets. The first interview. Monica Reeds. Monica lived in a quiet Vermont town. Maya, using a fake name, posed as a business history student and requested an interview. The old woman's movements were slow, her voice quiet, but her eyes were razor sharp. Maya started with harmless questions, then slipped a copy of the internal share transfer contract onto the table. Monica stared at it for a long time, then muttered, "He didn't deserve to die like that. But who could defy them?" Maya leaned forward. "You mean they killed my father?" Monica shook her head, poured tea. "I didn't say anything. They didn't shoot him. They used signatures, forged papers, silence, and me. I was silent too." A moment passed. Then Monica added, "Don't look for Eli. If he's still alive, he won't want you dragging him back into this." The first warning. That night, when Maya returned home, her front door's lock had been tampered with. Nothing was missing. But the physical file, the most important one, had clearly been touched. Someone had been inside. She locked every window, turned off all the lights, and sat in the dark living room holding a kitchen knife. For the first time, she realized someone was watching her, step by step. A friend in the shadows. The next day, Maya received an anonymous email. "I know you're David's daughter. I want them to pay too. Don't trust the law. You'll need something else. Friday night, South Point Park, bench number 7. No signature, no sender." The fire beneath Maya deleted the email, copied it by hand, and cleared her browser cache. She didn't know who this person was, but someone out there viewed her as a pawn, or as an ally. But she had no way back. They killed her father, stole the life she should have had, painted him as a villain. Now it was her turn to play the villain. But this time, she would be the one moving the pieces. South Point Park at night wasn't anything special. River wind sweeping through, a few dim yellow lamps, and the distant hum of traffic. Maya sat on bench number 7, exactly as the email instructed. She didn't bring her phone, just a small knife tucked inside her coat pocket. 10 minutes passed. No one showed up. Then a man appeared, not too old, not too young, wearing a beanie pulled low over his face. He held a brown paper bag like someone who'd just picked up takeout. He sat down on the bench next to her without looking at her. "You're right on time." His voice was low, dry, emotionless. Maya didn't respond. He continued, "My name is Sam Keller. I used to be a financial assistant to David Arkwright. Your father." A chill ran down Maya's spine. She turned to him, wary. "If you worked with him, why stay silent for 20 years? Sam gave a half smile. "Because I was threatened, and I believed them. Many others didn't, and they disappeared, like your father." Maya clenched her fists. "He was murdered?" Sam nodded. "I was there at the final meeting. That night, David said he was revoking Charles's power of attorney. He'd discovered the embezzlement, money being funneled to offshore shell accounts. But before he could act, he was summoned to an emergency board meeting and never returned. They said he committed suicide. You really think the people who stole everything from him would let him live to go public?" The plan was already in motion. Sam pulled out a tiny flash drive from his jacket. "This holds a copy of Arkwright Global's 2004-2005 financial records, with David's and Monica's original signatures. Also, a number of ownership transfer contracts that were never disclosed, most of them forged." Maya took it, her pulse racing. "You kept this all these years?" "No, I only recovered it a few months ago, right after an old friend of mine died in a car accident. That same week, I saw news that you joined LNX. They're watching me?" Sam nodded. "You've kicked the hornet's nest, but it's not too late." Revenge doesn't always need guns. Sam looked her in the eye. "If you want to take this all the way, I'll help. But not the Hollywood way. No guns, no break-ins, just documents, records, and striking from the inside." "I'm ready." "Then start by resurrecting Arkwright Global. On paper, it was never fully dissolved. Just frozen under pending legal review." Maya blinked. "You mean I can bring it back?" "With the original will, and as David's direct heir, you can petition to reopen the file. But you need to move before Levinson transfers everything to his new holding companies." Maya sat still. She knew this meant exposing herself, but staying silent meant losing everything. The counterattack begins. The following week, Maya submitted a formal letter to the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, requesting a re-examination of Arkwright Global's 2005 bankruptcy, citing discovered evidence of forged documents and an unexecuted legal will. She included a copy of her birth certificate, the restored original will, provided by Sam, and several suspicious ownership contracts. She signed the letter, Maya Arkwright. For the first time in 20 years, the Arkwright name re-entered the legal system. Domino effect. 3 days later, small financial news sites picked up the story. Arkwright Global heir emerges, demands review of 2005 bankruptcy case. LNX Corp. gave no statement. But Maya knew. They were scrambling. That night, Sam called. "You have 48 hours before they call an emergency board meeting. Charles will move to nullify your filing. You need a second strike." Or what kind?" "Find Eli Wade." Maya's voice dropped. "Monica said he vanished." "He did. But I know he's living in Argentina under a false identity. He's the only one who still holds the original partnership agreement that David drafted. If you get it, this won't just be a review. It'll be a full-blown corporate theft case." A man can't stay silent forever. That night, Maya powered up her laptop and composed 3 anonymous emails. 1. To a major financial news outlet. hinting that the Arkwright case may be the most blatant corporate hijack in U.S. history. 2. To a former bankruptcy attorney who worked on the 2005 filing. 3. To a tech blogger who was once sued by Charles Levinson for defamation. Maya wasn't playing defense anymore. LNX strikes back. 2 days later, Maya received an internal summons from LNX Corp, requesting she explain her unauthorized access of confidential data. At the bottom, in small italic print, "In secrecy, we survive. Betrayal is not tolerated." Maya understood. The counterattack had begun. The game is turning deadly. That night, she got a message from a blocked number. "Think you're in control? We killed once. We won't hesitate to do it again." Maya locked her phone. No fear, no rage. Only one thought remained. If they killed to steal, she would live to take it all back. Maya returned to her apartment before dawn. She hadn't slept in 3 nights. The death threat message still glowed on her phone. A blocked number, no metadata. But Maya knew one thing. They had found her. On the kitchen table, Sam Keller had left a new USB drive and a slip of paper. Eli Wade, San Juan, Argentina. This is his address. Eli Wade, David Arkwright's right-hand man, the CFO who held the original partnership contract between David and Charles Levinson, was the last living witness who could unravel everything. The problem? He disappeared in 2006. No one knew if he was dead or alive. No one except Sam, who'd discovered Eli living under an alias in a remote South American town. Sam lacked the courage to pursue him. Maya did not. On the flight to Argentina, Maya dreamt of her father. His face was a blur, but his voice echoed, "The truth never dies, unless you abandon the search." She woke in a cold sweat. The memory of that final night still haunted her. A 7-year-old perched atop the stairs, hearing raised voices, then absolute silence. A void 2 decades couldn't fill. San Juan greeted Maya with dust, dry wind, and an eerie stillness. She walked the dusty path to the last house on the lane. Sam's coordinates. No sign, only a wooden door with a single lock. She knocked. No answer. As she turned away, a gravelly voice spoke behind her. "Who are you?" A thin man with a gray beard and sunken eyes leveled a pistol at her. Maya remained calm. "I'm Maya Arkwright. I'm here for the truth. Not for money, not for headlines." The man said nothing, then slowly lowered the weapon. "I thought they'd wiped us all out." Inside, Eli sat on a wooden chair, hands trembling as he poured tea. Hard to recognize the figure once lauded on Forbes covers in 2002. "I went into hiding because I knew they'd kill me. David entrusted me with the original contract. He said, 'If I don't make it, you hold on to this. Maybe his daughter will need it someday.'" Maya's throat tightened. "Why didn't you go public?" "Public? They bought the public. Judges, auditors, law enforcement, every last one." He slid an old sealed envelope across the table, wax stamp intact. "This is the original contract, signed by David and Charles. The moment you release it, Charles's shares become illegally seized assets." Back in New York, Maya filed an emergency motion in federal court to freeze all LNX assets pending investigation. 3 days later, a financial news site reported, "Federal court temporarily freezes LNX Corp. assets, shares plummet 17%. She thought she was winning. That night, Sam vanished. She called him, no answer. At his apartment, the door was smashed in. Files and computers were gone without a trace. Only a small note remained stuck to the mirror. "When the board is turned, the first pawn is sacrificed. Maya's mind raced. Even Sam. Had he disappeared? Or was he working for Charles all along? Perhaps the entire operation was an elaborate trap, and she, the foolhardy pawn. But if so, why hand her the original contract? She reopened Eli's envelope. A deathly chill settled when she found a scribbled footnote beneath the seal. If I perish, the last to hold the contract is Sam Keller. 2 men, 1 missing, 1 leaving a warning. Who was telling the truth? LNX held an emergency press conference. Charles Levinson, calm, poised, declared, "These allegations are absurd, based on forged documents and the word of tax cheats and deserters. We will sue Maya Arkwright for defamation and injuring our reputation." Maya watched the broadcast. No surprise. What shook her was Charles's eyes. Not contempt, but unease. That night, Maya opened her mother's old letter, the one she'd been too fearful to read. "If you're reading this, I am gone. Do not look for me. Trust no one, not even your father's so-called friends. They have betrayed before." Maya froze, heart pounding. Sam? Eli? Or someone else? Who among them had once been David's friend and then turned traitor? Maya sat alone in the darkened apartment. No computer, no phone, no human, only her racing thoughts. What if this was all a setup? What if I'm just bait in another power struggle? What if the truth died long ago, and I'm unearthing a grave? The next morning, Maya donned her coat and stepped into the city. In her hand, a single white envelope. Inside lay the original contract, the evidence that could bury Charles, or bury her. She entered the offices of the New York Financial Tribune. She laid the envelope on the investigative reporter's desk. "I don't want money. I want the truth out there, whatever the consequences." The reporter looked up. "Are you sure you want this public?" Maya gazed out at the roaring city skyline, loud and indifferent as always. But inside, everything was silent. "I'm sure, because I am the last heir, and I'm not running anymore." No one expected Maya to dare file a lawsuit against Charles Levinson, not because he was the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but because the 2005 bankruptcy had long been sealed as legal, with signatures, approvals, and a ruling from the New York Supreme Court. But Maya wasn't planning to reopen the whole case. She only needed to create a crack. It takes one precise strike, not a bomb, a single rusty nail to pierce the heart. She whispered that to herself every time she opened the files. On the wall of her apartment was a web of names and connections. Charles Levinson, attorney Clara Reed, CFO Henry Vuong, District Attorney Victor Harlan, and one new name circled in red ink, Lucille Gates. Lucille had once been her father's administrative assistant. After the collapse, she vanished, and no one mentioned her again. But Maya tracked down a bank account under Lucille's name in the Bahamas, and it had received a hefty transfer exactly 3 days after her father's death. The first meeting in 20 years, Lucille was now a frail woman living in a rented apartment in Florida with multiple surveillance cameras. She didn't open the door at first until Maya held up a photo. Her father and Lucille, taken in 2004 with a message on the back. "If I disappear, trust only Lucille." The door creaked open. Lucille didn't cry. She didn't even seem surprised. She poured tea and spoke as if she had waited for this day for 2 decades. "Your father didn't die because of bankruptcy. He died because he refused to sign the pact that sold his soul to them." Lucille revealed that Charles and the other board members had manipulated the books, inflated losses, and pinned it all on David Arkwright. When David refused to back down and prepared to expose the fraud, he was poisoned 3 days after filing an internal complaint. No journalists were allowed near the body. The autopsy was conducted by a firm partially owned by Henry Vuong. The courtroom wasn't the only battlefield Maya knew. If she filed the lawsuit now, she would be crushed. Documents could be dismissed, witnesses silenced, media bought off. She needed a different tactic: start the war from the inside. She reached out to Gabriel Harlan, the only son of District Attorney Victor Harlan, now a young lawyer working for a rival firm of Levinson Group. Gabriel refused at first, but when Maya laid in front of him Lucille's confession on tape, a toxicology analysis contradicting the official autopsy, transaction trails of hush money transfers, he understood his father had been bought to bury a murder. "I'll help you, not for you, for the truth." 1 week later, a packet arrived anonymously at major financial media outlets. Its title, Shadow of Arkwright. Inside, photocopies of altered financial statements, an independent report questioning David Arkwright's death, offshore banking records for Lucille, Henry, and Levinson, secret contracts transferring Arkwright assets to Cayman Islands. Mainstream media hesitated, but an independent podcast, once silenced when it tried to investigate the Arkwright case in 2005, released the entire story in a viral episode. The name David Arkwright was back in the headlines, no longer the fraudster, but the man who may have been silenced. Then came an anonymous email to Maya. It read only, "If you think Levinson is the only villain, you're playing with half the chessboard." Maya rechecked her connection map, and it was true. There was one person she had overlooked: Eleanor Dane, the wife of a former minor shareholder in the Arkwright empire, now the chief legal officer of Levinson Group. She had never appeared in any report, but Eleanor had authorized most of the contracts transferring Arkwright assets after the bankruptcy. And Eleanor was none other than Maya's adoptive aunt. Inner turmoil, the pain of betrayal. The room spun. Maya remembered the nights she was scolded, the stories of your disgraceful father, the strict ban on reading any newspaper that mentioned Arkwright. Eleanor hadn't just raised her. She raised a cage. And now, Maya understood, the real game hadn't even begun. Maya didn't cry. She sat before her father's old photo and scribbled a new line on her wall. When the enemy is inside the house, the attack must come from outside. She hit send on a copy of all evidence to the FBI with the subject line, "Whistleblower Testimony, Arkwright Legacy." 2 weeks after the leak, Maya became a name that echoed across finance blogs, conspiracy forums, and late-night talk shows. Some called her a hero. Others called her a delusional orphan chasing ghosts. But behind closed doors, powerful men weren't sleeping. Charles Levinson had gone silent. His PR team was spinning chaos. Internal investors wanted answers. The stock price dipped, not from scandal, but from fear. Fear that the past wasn't buried. The day before the federal hearing, Maya received an envelope. No return address. Inside was a letter, dated October 14th, 2005, written by David Arkwright. "If this reaches you, then I'm already gone. They may not kill me with a bullet, but silence is a form of murder too. Don't fight like me. Fight smarter. Use what they value most, their greed." And attached, a master key, a USB drive containing encrypted corporate archives only David and the CFO had access to. Maya opened it. Her father had kept everything: emails, side contracts, secret recordings. One, in particular, chilled her. A phone call between Levinson and DA Victor Harlan. planning to fabricate evidence against David. If he doesn't sign, we bury him. Papers, prison, or poison. Your call. The next morning, Maya met Gabriel Harlan, hoping to prepare for the hearing. But Gabriel wasn't alone. Eleanor Dane, Maya's aunt, was there. Calm. Composed. I told you, child, you should have stopped. But now, you've left me no choice. Maya stared at her. It all fit now. Eleanor wasn't just complicit. She was the orchestrator. While Charles and Henry took the spotlight, Eleanor cleaned the trails, sealed the documents, adopted Maya to control her, and kept the Arkwright name buried. Why? Maya asked, voice trembling. Because your father was naive, Eleanor replied coldly. He thought integrity could save an empire. I saved it. For myself. Maya turned to Gabriel. His silence answered everything. He had switched sides. But Maya wasn't broken. She pulled out her phone and played the last card. A hidden recording of this very meeting, streamed live to a secure online forum. Smile for the audience, she said, her voice steady. You just confessed to obstruction, conspiracy, and manipulation of a federal witness. Eleanor froze. Gabriel lunged for the phone, but Maya stepped back. I wasn't here to win an argument. I came to end a dynasty built on betrayal. Within 48 hours, Charles Levinson was arrested for securities fraud and obstruction of justice. Eleanor Dane was charged with conspiracy to murder and financial manipulation. Gabriel Harlan lost his legal license permanently for witness intimidation. Henry Vuong fled the country, but was intercepted in Zurich. The Levinson Group's stock collapsed. The board resigned. Arkwright's name, once synonymous with disgrace, was reinstated in every archived record. The court offered Maya the rights to reclaim the Arkwright Corporation and lead its rebirth, but she declined. My father didn't die for me to rebuild a throne of blood, she told the press. I came to destroy the lie. That's enough. Instead, she founded a non-profit foundation in David Arkwright's name, dedicated to corporate transparency, whistleblower protection, and ethical reform. 3 months later, Maya returned to her father's old cabin. She sat in silence, looking at a single frame. David Arkwright holding infant Maya, smiling under the sunlight before the world turned. On the back, she wrote, You were right. Silence is murder. But truth is louder than any bullet. And with that, she lit the last of the old files on fire, letting go, not out of mercy, but because she had already won.